The man you see next to me is Ryan Larkin. He was a decorated 29-year-old Navy SEAL. Larkin won the Bronze Star, Army Commendation, and Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medals with Valor. That's just to name a few. But Larkin's obituary points out he was more than just his time serving his country and his tours in Iraq and in Afghanistan. He was a beloved son. His obituary says, quote, Ryan was a Renaissance man who loved playing music, enjoyed the arts and sciences, boating, shooting, and the outdoors. Larkin died by suicide in 2017, and doctors attributed it to depression. But his father, Frank Larkin, wasn't so sure. Now researchers are examining Ryan Larkin's brain in an effort to help other veterans. Frank Larkin told 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley about the signs he saw.
It was coming off that year-long deployment. He became short-fused. He stopped laughing, which was a key sign. He became very stoic in his facial expression. I would almost characterize it as putting a mask on, where at times he would get into this, mode where he was almost looking right through you. I've spent over 40 years of my life rescuing other people. And in the end, I couldn't rescue my own son.
Frank Larkin joins us now from our Washington bureau. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the Troops First Foundation, which runs programs to help veterans. And he's had a long career with the U.S. government, including his time serving as the Sergeant at Arms for the U.S. Senate. Frank, we so appreciate you sharing your story and joining us today. In your story with 60 Minutes, we note that the doctor who examined Ryan's brain after his death found scarring on it. So what do you want people to understand about the condition your son had that you believe led to his suicide?
First, thanks for having me on this morning. This is an important subject. What we're finding out at these blast waves that are emitted off the weapon systems and from explosive charges are moving through the brain, through the eye sockets, the nose, the mouth, ears, up underneath the chin, and creating microscopic tears that we cannot see. We don't have the diagnostics yet to see this in a living person. But when you start to see this in a post-mortem examination where the damage is, it certainly explains some of the conditions that we see manifested in behavior, loss of cognition, and other issues with veterans in active duty that are suffering from invisible wounds.
And I want to quickly read from the online guest book for your son's obituary. There was a woman who says she's a doctor of occupational therapy, and she wrote, quote, Ryan brought all of this to light, and because of this, he has saved many special operators from suicide. Tell us more about this research on these microscopic scars and tears in veterans' brains. What is your end goal for this work?
Well, twofold. One is on the medical side is be able to, one, characterize the injury and understand what's happening to the brain through this repetitive low-level blast exposure. And second, to develop the diagnostics so that we can see this in an early point of triage. Up until now, this is all defaulted to mental health, psychiatric diagnosis that usually incorporates a lot of mood-stabilizing drugs. But as we're, having conversations with veterans, we're telling them you very well may be injured. We just can't see the injury yet, but I'm hopeful that within the next couple of years we will be able to. One of the other aspects of this, which again has to be kept in view, is that what distinguishes us from other militaries around the world is the ability of our men and women to think on the edge, that thinking brain, to be able to adapt, pivot, shift, overcome, innovate, and that requires a healthy brain. So if this is this insidious condition that is taking a toll on our active duty and veteran brains, then this is a national security issue. This is something for the Pentagon that clearly falls within the readiness of the total force and not just within the medical domain.
And it, to me, strikes me that it would help so many veterans understand what's happening to them in the absence of other explanations of why, when they come back from combat, they do not feel like themselves, as you had said had happened to your son. I'm wondering, in your view, what Ryan would have to say about the work that you and others are doing now in his name.
Well, at some point I'm going to see him, and I don't want to disappoint him. He clearly gave me a mission. I'm sure he's here right now, helping me get the words out. But he was all about his teammates. He loved being a Navy SEAL. He loved this country. He's very much influenced by what happened on 9/11. He witnessed that directly. And I think that his story has been a catalyst to open the eyes that, hey, something's going on here. And here's one of the other issues that we just, because we can't see this and diagnose this in a living person, we don't know how many people are actually affected by this. And there's a building body of evidence that states that traumatic brain injury is directly related to suicide. So the fact that we have not been able to move the ball very far on reducing suicides within our military ecosystem, this issue with traumatic brain injury from blast exposure very well may be an explanation of why this is so tough.
Well, Frank, myself and everyone else in the U.S. have benefited from the service to this country, both from you and your late son. And I wish you all the best in this research to help even more people. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. It's about the men and women who serve us. We have to take care of them.
You bet. Frank Larkin, thanks so much. And for you all watching, if you're in need of help, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.